Hey everybody, welcome back to Unfiltered Joy. I have a really fun guest today, Miss Ann Gorman. Say hey, Kelly.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. And instead of saying kind of like who you are and what you do, that's like boring. Everybody will figure it out along the
Oh,
way and read all the bios and all the things. I love to ask my guests to answer this question. My soul came here to fill in the blank. My soul came here to,
help other people
yeah, yeah.
in many different forms and fashions.
You are the true trick of all the trades. Probably the person that I've met that knows the most about the most things. Like if there's ever something that I don't know how to do, or I'm feeling like I don't know what to do about this, I'll always gravitate towards you because either A, you'll very likely know the answer or have had an experience or met someone who's had an experience, or
Yeah.
B, you're just the kind of person who relentlessly shows up for people that they care about. And
Mhm.
like, I feel like I've come to you multiple times and I'm like, here's the thing that's going on in my life. And without saying, can you help me? You're like, okay, we're going to figure this out. Like, that's always the first thing out of your mouth. Like, we're going to figure this out. And sometimes it's like, wait, no, you don't have to help me. I just needed to vent about it. And you're like, no, I've literally just been Googling it for the past 2 minutes that you've been telling me. There's all these things that we can do. First, we're going to start here. And it's like, immediately you are a solution seeker. Can you talk a little bit about like how do you just how do you have that in you? Is this something that you've always had? Like, where does this come from?
I think, yes, I've always been that type of person. I've always had my hands like in a lot of other projects, but I really think it was when I worked in luxury travel on yachts and jets, where you literally have 1 second to like change like 20 million things that would take a normal person in a normal industry. Like you have a few months. Like there's no answer. There's no waiting. There's no what if. Like it's done. You just lie and say it's done before it's even done. That way, like you're good to go with either like a charter guest or a client or whatever. But I think that's when it really like took it to the next level.
I
And you
also
just figure it out.
you just figure it out. I feel like it really has become like a choice to just
Yeah.
go, we're going to figure it out. And the cool thing about you too, that the one thing that I've learned, many things that I've learned, but this specifically is like, just decide that you're going to figure it out. Be the
Yeah.
kind of person who's going to decide to, it's almost kind of like a habit is what I've realized. Like
Mhm.
decide that you're going to be the person who figures out how to do things instead of, I feel like I used to have this habit, especially when it comes to technology, of like, technology is so hard. I can't do technology. I don't do technology. And so when I took on that identity of like, I don't know how to do it, it all of a sudden is like this victim mindset where you're
Yeah.
always reliant on somebody else trying to do it. And then you taught me, after talking to you many times about tech issues, like you're my podcast producer as well. So if you guys need a podcast producer, Kelly is your girl. She's amazing. I wouldn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But if I wanted to learn how, you could show me how, or I could spend, 2 weeks Googling things and watching YouTube videos and eventually figure it out. It might just feel like a struggle, but there's like a solution for everything. You find someone who can help you, you hire someone who can help you, you look it up yourself, but do you know what I mean? It's like, it's such a choice to empower yourself to make that a habit.
It's definitely a choice. And I talk a lot about manifesting and visualizing in my book. But I also say, like, you can have a vision board all you want, right? I know you have one and you're like big into that. And I just like, I'm a list person and you know that, like, it's list on list on list, like color coded. So I just look because it's on my wall right here. And I'm like, okay, I need to do this. Like, I know by the color. And unless you put in the work, like you're not just staring at your beautiful vision board that you spend
No.
$100 in magazines. You're just like, that's going to happen. No, you have to put in the work in order for those things to happen, or they're not going to happen. Like you can daydream and like, but you have to put in the work. But also, I would like to remind you that last year you never did this YouTube channel because it was like too techy. And where are you now?
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that reflection. It really
Yeah.
was choosing to go like, this is stupid. I'm literally getting in my own way and saying, YouTube is hard. There's so many buttons, there's so many backends. And so this leads into many roads lead to this, but your book, which is Everything is Messy, and your website too, and your brand is Everything is Messy. And I really, truly, after I read your book, I took this to heart, like, just allow, like, let it be messy. Let it be messy and do the next best step. Chunk it down, get a plan going, figure it out, and keep showing up. Really, it like gets to be simple, even though it doesn't feel easy. Does that make sense? Like, there's a difference
Yeah.
between being simple and it being easy.
And you just have to find your own way. Like, I take organization to like a whole nother level, but that's not the level that you're going to take on. You're going to take on what feels comfortable to you. Like, some people love the tech and love a Google Calendar. I love writing stuff down and color coding it. It's like therapeutic for me, you know, but you have to find your own way. You can't just like copy, you know? So like for you with like your YouTube channel, like people don't understand how much work it takes, time, money, and energy to put into a channel or just creating any kind of content, period.
Yeah.
They think it's just like fun and games and you like do a video and audio. They don't realize the tech and the behind the scenes and the uploading and the social media and the funnels and all of that. But like, you just have to find your own way so that you feel comfortable finally doing something. Like, I tell this story all the time. Like, when I first launched my podcast in 2016, I was uploading video files. I had no idea how to produce. I didn't know how to take the beep from the smoke alarm that was going off because we couldn't reach the battery. That's still in my intro. I didn't even know like how to syndicate. And now I've developed more than 25 shows and have a whole business that develops podcasts. Like, I had no idea. I was like, I just need to figure it out and do it. And now all these years later, it's like, wow, yeah. And you like forget, but you just have to find your own way, you know, that works for you. Like, tutorials are great, but then you have to like make it your own, you know?
Adapt it. I love what you said about vision, the vision board and the plan too, because I feel like you're the queen of organization. And I think a
Oh, yeah.
lot of times people get really tripped up in life, or they feel a funk or whatever you want to call it. There's this overwhelm. And I think a lot of it comes from this lack of clarity and organization. Can you talk a
Mm.
little bit about how that's played a part in your life and just like lessening the chaos and, you know, just organization related to overwhelm in general and the importance of it?
Well, I think here's a good example. So my 2022, so hard, like getting used to that.
I know, it really is.
Goals, I have everything listed out, right? Everything that needs to happen this year. Then I divide it into quarters. I reverse engineer everything. So then I know what I have to do every hour, every day, every week, every month, every quarter to get me to accomplish all of those. And then it's okay. I used to be like obsessed and like really annoyed. Like if I didn't hit a number, like at a certain time, I'm not like that this year. Like, it's just going to happen.
Does it go beyond business? Does it go beyond, you know, building your business when you talk about those goals and then chunking it out into quarters? Is it all inclusive of your lifestyle and that type of a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm going to be bi-coastal next year. So I have certain things that have to be paid off in full in order to make that happen. And that's happening in June, and then it's happening in August. So with my personal life and my personal goals, like say I want to lose 100 pounds, how are you going to do that? Divided by the months. See, like, is 20 pounds a month attainable? You know, don't go like crazy over it. Like, how are you going to do that? Well, you need to go outside, you need to go to the gym, and then you need to eat healthy food. Like, it's common sense. So you just divide it. Like, it's like, I just reverse engineer like every single thing, whether it was like, you know, working out, or like I have a goal of like losing weight or anything business related, but like even organizing. Like, if you have to redo an entire closet, most people will get so overwhelmed. They're like, they literally walk in the closet and you're like, oh my God, like, where do I start? You have to pull every single item out and just look at it, and you have to make piles. So it's like dividing your business goals by like quarters. Your clothes, you divide it by piles. So you're like, this isn't going to fit. I haven't worn it in like 2 years, you know? So donate pile, and then like obviously recycle pile or whatever, but like same method. And it's just like always been in my head that way. So that's just how I do everything.
I have a 1 year rule with clothes. If I haven't
Yeah.
worn you in 1 year, even though no matter what story comes up, because that's really important, no matter what story comes up, I'm going to lose the weight. Oh, I just forgot about it. Oh, whatever. No matter what the story is that pops up, if I haven't worn you in 1 full year, you're going to be donated. Like, that's it. And that's how it all happens. And I think like the other thing about organization that I've realized about myself is even like if my desk has a bunch of stuff all over it, it really affects my mood or my
Oh,
mentality or my
yeah.
clarity, right? And so rather than allowing things to keep piling up, piling up, piling up, piling up, how do you best organize yourself when things just seem like it's just everywhere? I might as well just throw it all away. And instead of, and there's going to be stuff on the desk, right? The desk of life, figuratively. It's going to be stuff
Mhm.
on the desk that you can't just throw away. You can't just throw away your kids or throw away your partner or throw away your dog or like, please don't do any of those things. But like, you have all these responsibilities. Now, how do I look at this mess and like let it be messy?
You have to have routines in place. I never would be where I am right now if I was not super strategic, not only like with my goals and anything in my personal life, but with my routine. I never go to bed with my calendar not done for the next day. I actually have it done the week before, but
So
I
good.
never not look at it. Like, so say this call was like 8 o'clock this morning. I don't wake up at like 6 a.m. I'm like, oh my God, I have an 8 o'clock. I already know the night before. I have
Yes.
like the whole situation I do at night to like wind me down. And then I have a whole situation in the morning. And that's what sets me up for a successful day. Why can't I talk right now? Whether it's just like living my best life and taking a day off, or like getting to work and banging out like every project I have in front of me. I have to have some kind of a routine. And it's the same thing with like almost all of my friends have kids. And so they are now juggling like 5 different schedules in their Google Calendar or the Excel doc I gave them or however, but like that's a lot. Like it's intense. Like I've been trying to take my friend's 2 kids on a field trip and she's like, this one has piano, this one has soccer, then we have baseball. I'm like, you just let me know when I'm like, when you're free. Like that's overwhelming to me. But you have to have a schedule and then just have a routine. That's why kids always have a routine. Every day they know they come home after school, you have a snack, you have, like, so I think that that's what is something that really helps when it comes to being organized and finding your own like rhythm. It's really about like a rhythm and a routine, I think. And then you're not overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I have like all this stuff to do, like you just have to find your own way. And it's the same thing with like, whether you're like creating a new recipe or you're launching a new business, like it could be really overwhelming for people for both or just one. And so you have to make a list and then just figure it out and just feel good. But the main thing is like, you have to feel good doing it, because if you're not, like, what's the point of you even being here,
Yeah, yeah. I love that phrase, like find the rhythm in your routine, because I feel like
Yeah.
I preach morning routine, morning routine, morning routine, and evening routine. I don't talk about it as much, but I truly, truly couldn't agree more with you. Then
Yeah.
like your body feels better when it has trust in it, and it gets that trust and that certainty from routine. It's not just
Mhm.
the habits within the routine, it's actually the structure around you creating this rhythm and reliability, right? Like, okay, I can count on the fact, like my body talking now, I can count on the fact that she's going to let me know what we can look forward to tomorrow, even if it's
Mhm.
things that are making me, feeling a little antsy or whatnot. Like, I won't feel as antsy because I've already told myself we're doing this tomorrow. This is what we're doing. This is how it's going to be. And I think that I set myself up every single night as well. And then on Fridays, I always take Friday, 4 o'clock on Fridays, or sometimes 5 or 6, whenever it is, whenever it needs to be, end of day Friday. That's when I regroup for the whole rest of the week, confirming
Yeah.
appointments with people. Sometimes I'm confirming appointments with friends. Sometimes I'm confirming appointments with business clients or podcasts or people I'm collaborating with, or doctor's appointments, like just making sure, hey, we still on? Because then I can be very much assured that, and it's not that everything has to now be streamlined and everything's going to flow beautifully. It's that I have prepared myself. I don't have to wake up and go, what are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to be? How are we supposed to do it? Wait, this is happening. There's not that element of surprise. If I'm going to be surprised, I want to be surprised by something that's like, ooh, didn't see that coming. Like, oh, yay,
Yeah.
bonus this over here. You know what I mean?
A fun surprise. I honestly think it's because I worked so many years in luxury travel. I can't even tell you how many times I was woken up, not by choice, like you have 20 minutes to be on the plane fully packed, like in LA traffic on the 405. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, that's why I can do a lot of things really fast. I'm very robotic, which probably isn't like good for some things, but I can do a lot in a very short period of time. Anything at all, doesn't matter. Whether it's meal prepping for like a family of 20, like I could do that in just a few hours. Writing a book, I did it in a week.
That was amazing. That just like blew my mind, really.
I've always been like that, but I think that working in an industry like that, that's like so high profile and so demanding, like that's where it just kind of elevated like everything that was already in me. And I'm glad it did, because I can take on a lot. And then I can also not take on a lot. Like I'm used to working like chunks, like a lot of projects and then finishing them and taking a break. Like that's just how, I don't know, like even with like creating content, like I try really hard. This week I did not do that at all. It was an insane week, but one day I write, one day I film, one day I record, one day I produce, and one day I do not talk to a soul. Like no one's getting on a call or a video with me because my brain doesn't work. Like I can't continuously create. This week, however, I did all of those every single day. So I'm like, I need a break, but it was just a crazy week. But usually that's how I'm best. Like when you have a lot of projects in the same area, you can bang out so much more content because you're only focused on like that one thing,
Yes. I just started doing this and
yeah.
Yeah. I just started doing this and it's been a game changer for me, just compartmentalizing things. And you could even do this. Like I don't consider myself a 9-to-5er, even though I work those hours and or longer in my entrepreneurship. People don't realize that, right? They just think like you just like do whatever, whenever, however, but that doesn't feel very good. So even if you're going into an office or you're a teacher or you're somebody who has a very much like cut and dry time zones, you can still compartmentalize the things in your job that you're responsible for in that fashion. Like, okay, I'm going to focus on these types of emails or only reading emails. And then there's another time for responding, or there's, time for creating or a time for planning or a time, depending on what your job responsibilities are, you can kind of segment that out so that your body doesn't feel like I'm here. It just feels like this tug of war. I remember feeling like that in my event planning industry job where it was just like, I was really
so many calls. Like,
yeah, I was a great planner, but it just was like, there was so many things that looking back now, I would have gone like, okay, like, yes, there's going to be things to put out throughout the day, but like, here's my time where I'm going to be putting fires out. Here's my time where I'm going to be like, nobody talk to me, like horse blinders on, full planning mode or full research mode or whatever that is. But I just allowed myself to be in reaction mode all the time instead of a streamlined response of, hold on, do I need to put all those people's fires out right now? It wasn't even, it was just like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Like, how do,
and that's so true.
Yeah,
that's so true. Cause I literally feel like that this week, because I'm writing, recording, producing, filming, doing a million other things. And then I'm like freaking out about like not answering this publicist or an email. I'm like, no emails. Why am I looking at my inbox right now? I need to be focused.
Yes.
This is why I all these things on the same day. And I've done it every single day this week. So I'm regrouping after this.
Yes. That's so good. Why did you write a book, create a brand, all the things, do a podcast around the topic, everything is messy? Can you talk a little bit about what that even means?
Sure. So the backstory is what you can find out on my website. I was misdiagnosed with a disease that was going to leave me blind and paralyzed. So at that moment in time, this was 2016, I had no other option but to use my voice to make money and survive in this world. Then, long story short, I was misdiagnosed. But when that was the case, I knew I had to have a podcast and somehow make a profit from it. That's all I knew. So I was curled up in a ball, lying in bed, and I just had to figure it out. So that was called the Happy Workaholic, because working literally saved my life. Like, I worked like a dog. I always have, and I've always enjoyed it, but that was my brand. And now looking back, it's like, I literally worked so hard to save my life. Like, I made my whole life into a brand, not just like my business.
Yeah.
And then when the pandemic happened, I just was so over, like, I had such crazy PTSD. I was so over like that part of my life. And I took a really long break from recording, which isn't really the norm for me. And I've been recording for like 5 years now, and I haven't really taken long breaks. And I needed to take a break. And I'm like, I need to write a book. I need to do all these things. I need to help more people. But like, I don't want to be, every time somebody would say the Happy Workaholic, it reminded me of going through chemo and being sick. And I'm like, I don't want to hear that anymore. And I had to just, again, like, be creative and figure something out. Like, I needed a new life, like whole new identity, which is kind of crazy. And all of that happened during the pandemic. So I'm like, okay, so what's the next step? Like, how can I help people? So I wanted to write a book. I had been writing a book since 2016 when all of this happened. And I couldn't write that book anymore. It was like an old story. And I'm like, how is this a positive book for people? Nobody's going to want to read this. Like, I have years worth of podcast episodes if they're really interested.
Exactly. Like all of your whole podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to write this book anymore. So I just stopped and I created a whole new book. And at that point, it was called the Chemical Free Cookbook, because I really had to sit down with myself and think, like, what do I love doing the most that's really gonna like put a smile on someone's face? Like, I did the same thing with my makeup line with the name. I called it Giddy because it's the makeup that makes you smile, because I was so stressed out with being a pro artist, traveling and all of that. I'm like, I want to take it back and like to the original. Like, makeup makes me happy. Makeup is like making me smile and makes other people happy when you put it on. And with cooking, it's the same. So I started developing like these recipes. Well, I have a million recipes online. So I really like honed in, like, what can I put in this book? And so I chose to write a cookbook. I'm like, that's what makes me happy. That's what's going to help people. I'm going full force with this cookbook. Then when I started creating all the recipes, I would remember the stories and the moment in time when I created that recipe. And it was all from when I was sick and like previous stories, like, my whole life. So I took that and turned it into a personal development book and then added in the recipes. So that's when Everything is Messy was born. November 1st, 2020, I released it. And I did a 2-in-1. And then I also had to sit on that. I'm like, how do I have like these 2 books in my hand? Like, do I do this one first? Do I do this one first? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put them together, because I've never been somebody that doesn't do anything normal or like follow one road. Yep. I'm like, it's going to be a one of a kind publication. So that's how Everything is Messy happened. Because I'm like, life's a mess, but I can help you situate it and organize yourself. So let me do it in all different ways. So that was the first launch. And then after that, I was like, okay, for sure, my entire brand of the Happy Workaholic is going goodbye. Like, I'm done. So Everything is Messy became my entire brand. So it's my podcast, my book, my audiobook that's coming out, and my whole entire e-commerce store. So there's apparel. What did I do? Apparel, home, kitchen, office decor, as well as like all my personal development and business and LinkedIn. Like, there's so many business coaching programs that I created, but I took a break from my show because my own life was messy. I'm like, okay, now I have like double lives. So after my book, I was like, okay, Everything is Messy is like my whole new bubble, just to prove to people, like, yeah, I'm a perfectionist, but I'm also a mess at the same time. Like, because I know how to organize things and I know how to make lists, but I do it my own way. But everybody has to find their way. So I finally found mine, and I'm like, okay, now I can help you with yours. So that's a really long story short.
I love that so much. And I didn't know all of that story, actually. And I've known you for quite some time, but I didn't know all of that story. I didn't know that it was going to be the Chemical Free Cookbook first, which is why all those cool recipes are in there. Like, there's so much good information in that book. I loved reading it. I need to go back and revisit that now, thinking this out loud, but you have so many cool recipes, or you're always messaging me like, you got to try this recipe. You got to get this thing from Trader Joe's. You got to get this thing from this place.
Oh my God, I know Trader Joe's. They're so, You just want everything in there. But that's like my passion. Like if I'm stressed out, I'm in the kitchen. If I'm excited, I'm in the kitchen. But you have to think like holidays, where do people sit? In the kitchen. Like I just love creating healthy meals. Like
Mm.
I couldn't think of doing anything else.
Well, it's also what has healed your body time and time again is so
Oh
much
yeah.
of the things that you've been putting in it, or when you've been misdiagnosed a few times now, and it's like, well, it always comes back to, okay, what's going in, what's going in,
Mhm.
what's going in. So being so conscious of that, and then knowing that, like, you can't control how your body's going to respond to certain foods, but you can control the creation of the foods and be your own investigator. And so that's such a
Mhm.
beautiful thing that you've really taken it so far to create so many beautiful recipes for people um who, for everybody, really. It's not for one niche or another. It's just like tasty, delicious recipes,
And they're
for that.
simple.
Yeah, for, oh, I was just
They
gonna say, for like for
simple.
the, like,
Yeah.
everybody. Like, I don't
Mhm.
cook and I could do all the recipes.
Yeah. That was my main thing is like, okay, I have to just list it out because people online would always ask me for a list. Like, just send me a list. I'm like, you're my people. I'm like, I love a list. And that's how I did it in the book. And then you can go see the videos that I filmed everything for in a group. But in the morning, you have one choice. First of all, like if you are able to move your legs and open your eyeballs in the morning, like that's a huge win. Then you have a choice to make. Do you want to have a shitty day or do you want to have a really good day? Like same thing, like with business or life. So like it's all about a choice and then putting in the work and figuring out what makes you happy at the end of the day. And a lot of people realized that during the pandemic when doors were closed and they had no job and all these crazy things happened all over the world. I think people finally realized like this is the time I'm going to start that business I wanted 20 years ago. I can't even tell you how many people contacted me with that information, like same thing over and over again. I could have just hit like record
Yeah,
and they took
absolutely.
advantage of it. And now they're like flourishing in a business they were afraid to do or had no other choice, really.
Yeah, I feel like
And
there
now
are a
they're,
lot of people, even post, like, I wouldn't even say post pandemic because we're still kind of still
I know.
navigating all of it, but
Yeah.
where I'm feeling this vibe, and you gotta tell me the truth if you're feeling it over there, because you're on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast now, and it feels like the energy over here is like the mess feels like too much. Like, life feels like too much for people all of a sudden. Like, it's just like, I could handle it for a little while, but now, like, I just can't handle it anymore. But things still feel so fucking messy. Like, what do I do? What do I do?
You need to stop watching the news. No more news. Because it's the only reason why it's like that is the media. I actually, speaking of Trader Joe's, I was talking to the woman that rang me up the other day because I was
No
like the last
shocker.
person there. And I don't know how I started I mean, you only have a couple of minutes when you're like getting rung up, but right. But she said something and I was like, oh, I worked on cruise ships when we had norovirus. It's the same thing. It's the same. It was the same thing. I mean, obviously not all these lives were lost like on this level, but with the media and everything, like it was just insane. And especially with like the whole cruise ships now, like one has it, you all go down, locked up, boarded up in your room. But
Well, I
I think
think too,
that,
like, the media, like, using the word like media, including social media, and you and I, we both love
oh
social media. We're on here, add value here. Like, I've really made it a goal to only use social media this year. Like, 80% of my use on social media is either for growth, for using my
yeah.
gifts, or for giving something. Like, for giving something, you know what I mean? And if it's not for one of those three intentions, like, shut it off, turn it off, do something else with your life, right? And so, like,
Yeah.
it's the news, yes, but it's also all the socials. And I think that a lot of times people look at social media and they think they're a mess because they're not seeing other people's messes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, how do we normalize that messy can actually be just like, make the best of your mess? Make the
Yeah.
best of it. And mess isn't like a bad thing. It's not like an actual dirty thing. It's just there.
It's life. That's called life. And so many people use social media to complain.
Yeah.
I don't want to be so a lot of people, friends from many, many years ago, like, oh, like they'll text me, oh, you didn't comment on my Facebook post. And like I don't go on Facebook. I post and ghost. Unless we're communicating
Post
and
and ghost.
I'm engaging with you because I love my community on my platforms, but I usually do that in Messenger. I'm not scrolling. I don't care what everybody else is doing. I'm super focused. And if I start looking at stuff, then I just go down a rabbit hole and I just wasted 2 hours of my life, which I could have just done something else with, productive. And so I post and ghost.
Ah, oh my gosh, I love that phrase. I've never heard that before. And that comes back to that importance of, like you said, oh, I never finished my thought on this, is it's beautiful to have the vision board. And I love me a good vision board. But what you said is exactly what I did this year. I took that vision board, but I chunked it out into 4 goals, just 4. And then from those 4 goals, I created 4 things every single month of each one that I wanted to chip away at, like for January, February, March, April, May. And it can change. It's going to change. There are going to be some things that happen and some things that don't, but that routineness stays in place. And every single day, one of the parts of my routine is I write down what's called the V3, the 3 things of my vision, V3, V being vision, 3 things from my vision board or goals chart. They're all one and the same now that I'm going to do today. Like whatever that is, even if one of them is just taking like a couple of minutes to just visualize things, and another one is like actually taking action on something or calling someone or getting something done. Otherwise, we get to the end of the year and we wonder why nothing has changed. We wonder why our mess still feels bad, why our life still feels bad, why it feels like nothing has moved in the direction that we want. It's because we actually have to take action on it and do something with it, right?
And you're really good with that because you always create an acronym for something and then you just go to town with it. And
I do. I do. I am like the acronym queen. I can't make enough acronyms. Like, I wonder where that comes from. I feel like that comes from something in my childhood. Okay, so I am a Midwesterner, and I feel like we love a good acronym for things. Like we remember the Great Lakes because it's homes. Huron, let's see if I can do it. Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior. See, if I didn't know, I wouldn't be able to know all the lakes in Michigan. Like we have all these acronyms, or like the 50 nifty states. Like we have a song that goes along with it. I think that spans outside of Michigan, but everything was always like built on acronyms. And I think even going through school, I wasn't the quickest learner. I am the girl that has to read things 20 freaking times. It's really annoying and it's really frustrating. I still have that in my adulthood. It hasn't gotten much better. And I don't think it's a flaw of mine. I think it's just how it is. My learning is just a certain way. And so when I would create acronyms, I could remember things for quizzes and tests and things like that. So now I think that's the way that I apply it in my life. And I use that a lot of times with my clients because that's how they don't have to go back and look at all their notes from our sessions and things like that. That feels very chaotic, very stressful. And what we want to do in our lives is create a lot of embodiment, which is why you do all of those routines throughout the day. Why you have your color coding system, because your body goes, oh, I remember what that is. I remember what I'm supposed to do. I don't have to think about it so hard because it's actually just a part of me. You know, the morning routine and the evening process, those become embodied parts of us when we're willing to actually just make them a part of who we are, make them a part of our day. I don't even start my day anymore without making my bed. I can't. I've tried.
I lose my mind.
I've tried, and that started for me as a certainty practice. Do you know what I mean by that? Like if I'm going to build trust with myself, I have to do one thing that's super simple over and over and over and over and over and prove to myself that I can do it. And I'm like, I can make my bed every day. I don't always want to make it, but I do it anyways, right? Like we're not always going to feel like we want to do the things to clean up our mess, literally and figuratively. But if we do, then we'll feel better in our lifestyle in our day, and we'll move the needle forward towards the life we want to live. That's what I believe.
Yeah. And going back to the whole making the bed, I grew up like I would get in trouble if I didn't make my bed.
Same.
Yeah. And like you change your sheets on a Sunday and like you're just like drilled forever with these again routines, but they were chores then. But now it's like there's so many studies that prove what happens if you make your bed. But also I'm somebody that has anxiety and depression. So if I'm in a depression bubble, if I get up and make my bed, I can say I did one thing. I made my bed. And that is like life and death to me in my mind. Sometimes like I can't do anything, and then I made my bed. I'll make it and I'll lie back down. But I did that. I did one thing today. So that's the only thing that you can handle. That's it. That was productive.
Totally. Yeah. I love that you just shared that. Thank you for that. I'm watching a show right now, and I know that that's just TV, but I'm watching a show called The Afterlife, and it's with Ricky Gervais, and he has lost his wife. Anyways, cut to the chase is that the reason like he gets up every day is to feed the dog, because his wife was like, just feed the dog. Like, I need you to do one thing, just feed the dog. And he like doesn't want to go on with his life, but she told him, you got to feed the dog. Well, the only way to do that is to wake up, feed and walk the
Yeah.
dog, was what she had said. So I just think it's really beautiful that like, if you feel like life is too messy and you can't handle it, like focus on just starting with one
Yeah.
thing that you can show up for yourself for every single day, because that one thing might just keep you going on, carrying on, right? Keeping
Yeah.
your eyes
I mean,
open.
sometimes like during the pandemic and even after, like a couple months ago, like if I got up and made my bed, made my iced coffee, I would go back to it, but I did two things and I couldn't function.
Yes. Oh, I
And I
love
was like,
this.
but I made myself my iced coffee. And to me, that's like liquid gold. Like there's nothing that I can do without that. But that's
Yes.
huge, especially when you're living in a dark cloud and like you don't know what's going to happen the day. You can't see anything in the future. And it's really hard to go from seeing everything on your vision board to black. Like that's just what depression is. And so if you can get up and do one or two things, like that makes you feel good and that slowly helps you get out of your funk, in my opinion.
Ah, I love that so much. It's such a beautiful way of thinking of just like, what can you allow yourself to step into a little bit further today and a little bit further today, because otherwise it just feels overwhelming, and then we want to just quit. Then we
Yeah.
just
And
want
you
to
got
quit.
your time. And that's one thing I don't like to do. And that is what will stop me. Like, okay, how long is it going to be this time? You
Yeah.
know? And that's why, like, I love cooking too, because it's so therapeutic. And that was literally how I got through, like, going through rounds of chemo. Like, I was always in the kitchen because I was like, well, I can't like get on a computer because this drug is giving me this side effect. And I can't do this because this drug is giving me a side effect. And like, but I can cook.
Mm.
That's how it all kind of happened. But
Cooking can
yeah,
be super, super therapeutic. I used to hate cooking, and now I'm just like, ooh, it's really nice to just cook a nice meal, put on some music, take my time with it, be slow with it. Yeah. Never hurts to have a glass of wine.
I remember how excited you were when you started getting your whole Hello Fresh deliveries and we would FaceTime and you're like, I have wine, I have music, I'm cooking a steak with the string. And you were so excited.
Like, life gets to be so just simple and fun, right? Just like make it easier on yourself to move
Yeah.
through your day. The other thing too is, I love how you said earlier, find like it's fine to listen to what other people are doing, because sometimes that's really helpful, right? Especially if you're following somebody who's inspiring you or motivating you, or you're like, you know what, that feels good, that would feel good for me to be able to show up to my life like that. Not getting into comparison mode, but using other people's experiences to go, I think I can pull myself up out of this. I think I get, I can show up for myself. And then just experimenting with different things that feel good for you. So maybe not like blowing out the whole routine that someone has shared, but maybe trying different things. And the other thing is like chipping away. If I think about reorganizing the closet, which is crazy that you brought that up, because that was totally on my radar for this weekend. But it
You know,
does
you're
feel
gonna
so
FaceTime.
overwhelming, because you know what else happens? I start with that closet. I'm pointing to the closet over here. And then head to that closet. And then I'm over in that bathroom. And then before I know it, none of it's done and everything's out of the room. So I think it's good to remember too that you can peek in the closet
Mm-hmm.
and pick two things that you're going to move to the recycle zone or the donation zone or the trash zone, whatever it is for you, right? And maybe not take everything out just yet if that feels overwhelming. If it feels good, take it all out and slowly put one or two things in. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be the way, like your way might be take it all out. Don't leave this room until you're done. And that feels good for you. My way might be, I'm going to spend an hour on this, and whatever it is, like I'll come back to it tomorrow. And for somebody else, it might just be that 1-2 process. You know what I mean? Like what you said about finding what feels good for you. It's so important
Yeah.
we honor what feels good.
It's so important. And then going back, like still in the closet, but going back to organizing and like donating piles. you go by, you don't wear your clothes for a year, it's got to go. I have select pieces in my wardrobe, in my closet, like even shirts, like all kinds of things from meetings, from deals I've landed, from certain trips. They remind me of something. So I have this box, this clear bin, actually, it's not this big, it's actually this big. And those are in there. So when I have my house, I'm going to bring my items because I do not know how to sew. And I'm going to bring them to someone, and I already have the whole what I want, and they're going to put it together. So whether, say I wanted pillows or blanket, there's going to be swatches of all of those pieces that are like great memories in my career and in my life that are now a pillow.
Oh, I love that.
So I have like a t-shirt from the Panama Canal. I have this like embroidered shirt when I got my first like jet charter deal. I have like all these little items. So we're going to make swatches, and we're going to make pillows and a throw and whatever. And I'll probably have them in my office. But I just want to like design something from using, what do they call it? Like upcycling. So that's what I'm doing, because I can't get rid of those pieces, but there's not that many, but like, I really have to make a hard choice. Like, okay, are you making like a lifelong Sherpa, or like, what are you doing with these swatches? But that's what I hold on to.
But what I hear you saying too is like you've designed a space where those go, so it doesn't feel chaotic in there, and you're not just like continuing to toss things in, toss things in. It's like, no, I know that this is the spot where the important things that I'm not ready to release yet, this is where they go.
And nowhere else.
I love to live by the mantra, and sometimes I break this, but I try to live by it as much as possible, that like everything in my house has a home. Like every item has a home, has a space, has a place where it belongs, where it gets to go, where it gets to love its space, its spot in its space. And if it doesn't, like, it doesn't belong here anymore. It doesn't live here anymore.
And even as organized as I am, for some reason, things teach you a lesson. Like just the other day, it's literally right here. So the other day, I'm searching for my USB for my mic. Nowhere to be found. I have Ziplocs labeled like I'm still on a yacht with everything in there. Where is this one of a kind, can't grab another USB because it doesn't fit, USB to my podcasting mic? Where is it? Nowhere to be found. I literally had to order it from Amazon. I was so annoyed, and it still hasn't even popped up, which is weird because usually that comes as soon as the delivery, you know, like life lesson.
Right.
Why am I tearing apart? And then I'm like, okay, is it my studio? Is it in a backup Ziploc bag? Like, where the hell is this USB? I'm like, somebody upstairs just wanted me to like, you know, hook myself up with a $6.83 purchase from Amazon and get a new USB. Like, what was that teaching me? Like, just relax. Like, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, everything's going to be fine. There's always a solution. I feel like Marie Forleo's book, Everything is Travel, is great. It's like, it really reminds me of you so much in that sense, like I said in the beginning, where it's just like, be a solution seeker. Do you need to find the USB thing, or can you just go on Amazon right now, put yourself out of your misery, and if the other one pops up, you've got a backup? Yeehaw. Yeah. Do you know how many earbuds I freaking have? Like, I have
God, everyone.
Why do earbuds go missing so often? Like, I have earbuds that I put in my travel backpack. I have earbuds that I put in my purse. I have earbuds that I put in my desk. I have earbuds that I put in my other desk. Like, I have earbuds that I put on my nightstand. I go to Michigan, and I go out to the coffee shop, and I need earbuds because I'm not going to be the person that sits in the coffee shop and does all the things and everyone hears all the things. Like, that just drives me bonkers. Sorry if you're that person, but it's just, I'm like, get some freaking earbuds. You know what I mean? But so I had to go freaking get earbuds from the gas station, right? So I just have so many earbuds, but I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to stress about the fact that I don't have them. I'm just going to go get another pair. Another $12. Here we go. More earbuds.
But that's my normal thing with USBs, because I go to Vegas usually every 2 to 3 weeks. Every time I come home, missing USBs, because I'm probably giving them to my friends' kids for another car we have, or we're like iPads or whatever. And nothing ever, I tell myself, like, I have a Ziploc in my purse and everything goes back in there. I'm switching cars. I grab it out of the car. Doesn't matter. Every time I come home, I just lost another one a couple weeks ago. and my
Oh,
charger with it and my backup charger. And that thing lasted me forever. It was this cute little teal thing from Target. It was like $10, but now I invested in a $30 one, which is like charges 3 iPads, has a reading light, has a flashlight. Like I really wanted this device anyway, but I'm like, okay, well now I don't have a choice because I always need a backup charger. And this one's like top of the line. I'm like, Prime, 2 days. It all worked out.
I feel like too, if we just tell ourselves to, there's a reason why this is not available to me right now. There's a
Yeah.
reason why this is not available to me right now. I can be okay with that, or I can do something about it. We really do have two
Mhm.
choices. We can say like, you know what, maybe
Yeah.
this is that I'm not supposed to record anything on my microphone today or for the next 2 days or whatever it is. And maybe that's not the case. Maybe I'm supposed to be a solution seeker. And we can just listen to our intuition and honor whatever feels best for you. Find a solution or live with it how it is and be okay with it and move on. Life doesn't have to feel so chaotic and overwhelming.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is like these things happen to me all the time, which I now document on my TikTok because nobody believes me. And then my closest friends are like, I don't know why you don't like share this part of your life. Cause like no one would believe like the stuff that happens to you every day. The same thing. It's always something with Vegas. Happened with my steamer, my
Little
a
coffee.
portable steamer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got it on an end cap at Home Goods. So it was like random, it's not like I can go to Target and get another one. I could not find the steamer anywhere. And before we hit record, I was showing you my studio with all the backdrops. And like I steamed these. I bought like 3 different ones and none of them worked. They were like spraying all over the place. And I'm like, why? Why is this happening? And then finally, like 6 or 7 trips later back to Vegas, I stole it back because I left it at my friend's house. So like I'm gonna need that. So I got it back. So it all worked out.
Now you're ready to steam away.
Now I can live my best life in my steamer. It's great for your skin as well as your backdrops. Multitasking.
Full steam ahead. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, I love this chat. I don't want to spoil all of the other amazing content that you have in your book because we could literally just like rip out every single thing from the book and talk about it on here, but that wouldn't even be fair. So people need to get the book. They can find you. Tell us all the places where they can get way more things on just like working through life is messy. Everything is messy.
Definitely my podcast, which is 5 years old now, more than 5 years old. Everything is Messy podcast. It's on globally syndicated, every platform. It's in 86 countries now. I was just trending in Iceland, top 4 show, which is crazy. And my book and my collection and my audiobook is getting released and a lot of other fun projects. Everythingismessy.com is where you can find everything. And then online, I spend most of my time on TikTok and then Instagram and LinkedIn. Facebook is last. So you can find me everywhere at Kelly Ann Gorman Official.
Awesome. I will drop all of those things you just named in the show description so you guys can go ahead and follow. If you want Kelly to come back on the show, make sure you leave some comments. Let us know what you want to hear more about. Let us know what you want to talk about, or you can drop something on her Instagram or mine and engage in a conversation. We both love engaging with our listeners and things like that. So
yes.
The last thing that I usually try to do on this segment, this series, is give people a little alignment assignment. Is there anything that you want to offer up for people to try on for size this week?
Oh my God.
I didn't prepare you. What's that?
You always have such good ending question. I know because I produce your show. And now I'm not prepared. I think it's really important to just choose one thing, just one, and either organize it or take it to the next level or get it out of your life and then bring in something new. Just challenge yourself to take on one new project. So if it's literally to go buy more toilet paper at Target and replace it in your bath, like that's one thing. Just do something for yourself, for your family, and then for your business if you have one.
Ooh, I love that so much. One thing, you guys, let's get
Just
it.
fun.
Let us know what your one thing was this week. Let us know what you did so we can celebrate you. Like, I think it's so important to celebrate everybody who's tuning in. So give us a note. Let us know what you did. Let us know what you tried on for size. And this was a great chat. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you so, so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Go out into the world, shine your light bright, and live a limitless life. See you soon.